Hi, and welcome to Sandy's Numerology. This is part two of 2020, focusing on South Africa. I'm gonna look at Cyril, the ANC. Um, yeah, so let's look at South Africa first. So, South Africa became a Republic of South Africa on the 31st of May 1961. It gives us double hidden nines and an 8 life path. Now, remember that any company, individual, or country, your birthday year starts on your birthday. And so from May 2021 to May 2022, we are in a 5 personal and our age is 60. So we are still in the internal of South Africa of the pandemic. Our pandemic, as I said in previous videos, we would only start the peak of 2021 at the end of November. And of course, Omnicom arrived around that period. So we are still in this until probably a month or two after May in 2022. So there are vaxxers, and then I'm going to call them the non-vaxxers. I think because of this 5 personal, there's going to be a lot of rules that are going to change. And this is a 5 is the powers that be, corporates, corporations, government, parastatals, any industry that has governing bodies. And there could be a blanket rule on people that are not vaccinated, that if they can work from home, well, this is good. But if they can't, this could have an effect on their jobs. The 5 is still disclosure and discovery, fraud, corruption, criminals, and the word change. Now, we saw massive change in our elections, and this is the start of the change that's coming into play, which we experience directly, but it's a worldwide phenomenon that the powers that be, if they're not bringing in the community, or the community is not standing up. And we stood up in the elections and we said, hang on a minute, the ANC is not producing, the ANC is making the same old promises. And we also noticed the negative that was happening around them and not getting all of their candidates listed, because they too are in a 5 personal year until January. But let me stay on South Africa. So we have got much more disclosure and discovery of untruths by the powers that be. Now, we heard Investec and their tax fraud. We have been hearing this little noise in the background about Eskom and Patrice Motsepe and African Rainbow Minerals and the Motsepe family, which of course is Cyril's brother-in-law, and one of Cyril's sister-in-laws is married to the Minister of Energy. The plot thickens. So, for example, on Jeff, the Minister of Energy, he is born, I think it's on the 6th of August. He's got double hidden 5s and a 5 life path, and he's in a 5 personal year till August of 2022. So there is still going to be disclosure and discovery about what he's up to, and he is not an honest man. Fact. End of story. Numerically, he's not an honest man. I've always said that Cyril has got people around him that are not to be trusted, and our Minister of Health went, and there's a few more. So this 5 could bring more changes from a government perspective. We've also seen the shifting and changing of people leaving the DA, and one person didn't leave Action SA, but they moved to a different position. So there's all of this change that is taking place, and we're still in it. We've also got to wake up a lot about our banking, and a lot of the banks have had some technical issues, as they call it, or Standard Bank keeps rebooting and refacing the front page of their website. Meantime, they were hacked. So 5 is import and export. There's been a difficulty where the likes of the UK banning South Africa travel, and the lies that have come out of one of his ministers that they discovered Omnicom, which was nonsense. And it's now kind of been said that it came out of Holland. But I think we put all the other countries into a poo on the face because we made the disclosure of this discovery of Omnicom. And our scientists are really highly rated. There's still more to come, so do not underestimate that there might be another virus. So what is interesting, because South Africa's age is a 6, 6 means virus, and that means what's outside coming in. And 6 is an energy, it's electricity. So it's very energized, and 6 means virus. Now, virus comes in many forms. This could be a virus in technology. This could be a virus particularly relating to the pandemic. And this can also be a virus in the sense, and I know in part 1 I said the word grasshoppers, which I actually meant to say locusts. The epidemic of locusts, which has already emerged because we were in a 6 public year, we're moving into a 6 personal year next year. So the locust story that's been emerging in the news is endorsing my story about insects in part 1. So what we've got to realize here is that 5, that disclosure, discovery, powers, politics, mismanagement, lies, deceit, and it's all about the powers, and it's really, really bad. So we have only hit our peak in November of 2021, but the story continues. Now, our age is a 6, and that is the word connection. Now, we've seen a lot of people that have been able to come back home that were under quite severe restrictions from the country that they were staying in and got into lockdown, where there's a lot of people being able to go home, or a lot of people also being able to travel. And so there's been this connection and connecting, and friends and families and children, etc. So it's been quite interesting that that has all been happening and will continue to happen all the way through to May of 2022. Now, that 6 that we have as our age at 31st of May 2022, we go into a 6 personal, and our age will be 61, which adds to a 7. So what we've got to see here is that this word virus, which is a 6, allergies, energy, artificial intelligence, any kind of alternative technologies, inventions, architects, design, ideas. And I feel that the technology is going to spread broader and wider, and hopefully cheaper, so that many people that are maybe in rural areas where there is no electricity, or the are still going to be able to access, the cell phone and getting onto tablets or whatever, or from an education perspective. But this 6 is friends, families, relatives, past coming back into play. So we have had no maintenance in South Africa, which we should have been doing in 2020, and pandemic hit. So we'll give the ANC and municipalities a little bit of grace there, although they should have been doing it all along. But now this 6 is going to reconnect. I still believe that a lot of the fires and problems with Eskom have been created by, it's been a sabotage. But I still believe that this 6 means I'm going to hold you responsible. And this is not only about Eskom, but this is going to be about people that have been held responsible for something that they never did, will now be able to clear their names, versus other people who have gotten away with will be now held responsible. Great time for whistleblowers. But 6 is mechanical, electrical, technical, and chemical. So those are industries, but again, that is also about the reconnecting, or the electronics, or the technicals, or the mechanics, or the chemical, how things work. And so that is all going to start to show its face. And we started to hear about Shell. And as of today, because today's the 28th, there's been a stay that Shell can't do any blasting. And I think it's a great thing, because in Shell's numbers in South Africa, there is no find there. Although South Africa, being in a 6, going into the 6 internal, is actually something comes back into play. So this could easily be that they might get given they're obviously going to fight this in court. This could be a discovery of oil. But we know that Sasol has been off the coast for so long. There's been probably millions, if not billions, that have been thrown at searching and researching, and it's all, I don't know that it's all that clean. Actually, I doubt that it's clean. 6 is animals. So we're hearing more and more rhinos that have been dehorned or murdered, or and we've heard of a lot of people traveling out with either snakes or abalone or etc. So this is all about the animals, and I'm going to use that in general across the board, whether it goes from insects all the way through to the big 5, through to birds, etc., and especially bees. So this is a very important time where things come back into play, and hopefully we can up our level of bees, we can respect our animals more and our insects more. And as we move into, from 2 months before May in 2022, and then we hit the 31st of May, we start to get into that 6 personal, and by the 31st of November of next year, we're sitting right at our peak. So there's a few other things that are important that I need to mention, and the words you will hear either in the news or the reading stories. It's about air and oxygen. It's about our ecosystem and what makes it tick, and our insects make it tick, using bees or birds that are doing their own planting by picking at seeds and then flying and dropping things in nature, and then things spreading and growing. But 6 is also this technology thing about misinformation. So we've got to be very careful. And that virus thing that I'm talking about can definitely get into all forms of technology, our cell phones and how we are being watched, so to speak. But the word connections is important. How we not only connect with people, but how we react in or respond. So a 6 is the finger pointer and blamer, and he who owns the finger who is pointing, take a look at them because they're normally the person who is the problem. It is Mercury retrograde happens 4 times a year. Now, that is all about communication and technology. And communication can be human beings or cell phones, for example, or how we commute. So this communication is going to be basically the energy in retrograde means that, let's say, a virus happens under the normal Mercury retrograde in 2022, it's going to dig even deeper. But the repair is going to be even more difficult. So 2022, if your age adds to a 6 or your day and month plus 2022, once you've had your birthday, adds to a 6, that is the internal, the effect of the global plus South Africa has an impact on you. 6 is transformation. How we can transform, we can go back so that we can move forward. But then let's bring in technology again, and mechanical and electric. It's transformers, and what is Eskom also based on? It's a raising of consciousness. We've got our sangomas, and then we've got people that are clairvoyants and psychics and astrologers, and myself as a numerologist. So that's part of it, but it's also raising your consciousness in what makes you tick. Not only what makes the country tick, but what makes you tick, the inner workings of. So that's for South Africa all the way to 2023, but it's also for people who've got 6s, in 6s, etc. It's about love, but this love is something that you can say, I love bread. But when it is about love, many people misuse that word. But that love is about something that sits inside, that is, the energy is so deep. It's almost unexplainable, but it can be about hate. But there is also this thing about reconcile. It's focus, patience. You need to learn to listen so that you can hear and don't react. Take a deep breath, step back, and respond later when you've got the focus. Otherwise, there'll be regret. 6th sense, gut feeling, inner, intuitive voice, the voice that's inside of all of our heads. We are not having a conversation with it. It is having a conversation with you. So from an inner perspective of South Africa, we need to start spending more time listening and hearing. It's from a food perspective, we go back to the locust story, because when we've had all these rains, I think that when there's too much rains, they kind of emerge. I could be wrong, but they can mow down a maize field in seconds. Holistic, homeopathic versus drugs. It's about herbs and about spices. all that natural stuff. It's about science. And this is the invention year. And already with our Omnicom discovery and our scientists working magically, who knows that they might come up with something that can solve something to deal with the pandemic. Then there's this design, an architect. Now, an architect is not just of a house. An architect can be of absolutely anything, whether it's technology or a vaccination, etc. This is a very important time. So there will be inventions, and there's recognition and acknowledgement that comes in general, but we've already started getting the recognition for the discovery we made on the Omicron. So watch out for cyber attacks, the fires and explosions. It's gun, gas, fire, explosions, and that can come in many different forms. It's about the recipe and the formula and what makes things tick. So you can put that into any industry or within a company, the recipe and the formula of the people that work there, or the recipe and the formula of how the ANC function. So the chemical, there's still this gas petrol thing that's coming up, which is very interesting. But this is sparks and nuclear and explosions, which can be so volcanic. So there's something to watch there. But the new systems and tech savvy and fiber and fiber optics, there's so many interesting things that are coming under this 2022. So for South Africa, we start to go into whatever I said in part one, but now we'll feel it personally. But we've got to kind of feel that energy 2 months, 2.5 months before May. So it kind of starts in March. It hits in 31st of May, peaks on the 31st, and it still does a lift until March of 2023, where there's this very slow stepping down of what 2022 will be, and for South Africa. And then for all of the people who sometimes, me, okay, not sometimes, all the time, OCD. But you've got people who are obsessive compulsive. This is the year of aliens. I'm sure this is going to please them. There could be the disclosure and the discovery of aliens. Oh my Lord, this is going to be a really, really interesting. What we don't need is any kind of chemical reaction. We think about asteroids and them firing off into the universe to see how they can prevent that. You know, I think that when you start to mess with the universe, it's much more powerful than us. It will mess with us. But it's a pioneering time, I must say. It's going to be quite interesting. So South Africa, we've still got a rough time until May subsides, June, July, and we're out of that personal 5 and we hit into that 6 and we start to pull into that 6. Now, because we're going into a 6-7 year, South Africa has got no 6s and no 7s. So that 7 public is going to open doors. This is about travel, you know, the sea and the coast and travel in general and music and art and theatre and culture, and very spiritual for South Africa as well. So that 7, as in our age 61, is there's a lot more backwards and forwards coming in, which means that the doors are going to open a lot more. And I think only in 2023 it probably could get into a different energy of travel. But 7 is about cars, planes, boats, trains. It's also very emotional and very sensitive. And 7 is about the sea. 7 is, gosh, I wonder if any of our artistic people will get international recognition, because 6 is recognition and 7 is fame. And that 7 also puts South Africa on the stage, right out there in the public eye, even more so. So could this inventions or discoveries or whatever, something that has been developed that comes to the fore, and then South Africa gets recognition and acknowledgement for it, which is also interesting because, you know, Cyril has created 2 very big industries under his banner of deputy president or president, and that is criminals and corruption are the 2 careers he's been invested in. Sorry to say, Cyril, but I'm slowly worrying about where you've been. So let's get into Cyril. Cyril is born on the 17th of November 1952. And if you go back to the Cyril Ramaphosa and family, I said that entire family had to watch out for COVID. So he got COVID. He didn't get COVID at the gathering. He had COVID before. And the day before, the Saturday, is when it definitely, where was he and who was he with? So we have seen an absolute lack of Cyril being on the stage. We have seen him, like me, talking to you, but we've seen no activity. And with respect, his Matamela Ramaphosa adds to a 5. Now he's been in a double 5. So he's got double 5 in his personal side and double 5 on his age. And this is, you know, first of all, the discovery and total disappointment about the Minister of Health, but there's more to come. And he's still got to watch his back because of who's around him. And a 5 energy made things lackluster. And if anybody, when your age is a 5 or you're in a personal 5, you've got this imaginary wall. There's no windows and doors. You can't even see the wall, but you can't get up, and you can't, as you try and go through, you feel something is preventing you. And with the pandemic also being a number 5, it takes your energy away. So with respect, he's not been in an energy year. However, he has now turned 69. So South Africa's age is 60, and in 2022 May will be in a 6 personal. So Cyril is now 69, on track with our age of 60. So he's not bad for us, and I think a lot of us still like Cyril very, very much, because there's nothing really nasty or mean or about him at all. But his 6 now, he has to start to voice, to speak, and he's got to start speaking pretty soon, because this 6 is quite interesting, because Cyril Ramaphosa adds to a 6. Now he's in a double 6, so he's got double 6s in a personal space and double 6s in a public space. This is where he gets held responsible. This is where he has to get his focus. He needs the 6's voice, and he needs to use that, and he needs to start speaking up. What is a concern is he's sitting under his age of 69, and he's got double 1s and triple 6s and an 8. So he's born on the 17th, which gives him a 1. His day and month adds to a 1. He's got a hidden 1. And then he's in a double 6. His 17 adds to an 8. So under his name, and this will fall under his A of Matamela, he is in a time of communication, voicing and speaking and standing up and standing out. And we've also heard that leaked recording on CR17 where he said he was prepared to fall on the sword if any money was used for politics and voting and our elections. Because this is when he takes responsibility or he is held responsible. So I think what is the concern here, country-wise, is that he needs to speak. We need to have more of his presence. And I think that he also needs to take responsibility for the damage that the ANC has created in this country. Now, a lot of his family members will fall in line, and I wonder if there's going to be a baby born here. You know, he's got some young daughters there, and there could be a child that's coming into play within the Ramaphosa family. I'm hoping that his energy lifts and he is focused, and this is also very hard for him, because when we look at I'm going to look at the ANC in a moment, but I want to look at the Rand is currently 60 years old, and it's not done too badly. It's been quite a good year, and generally speaking, when a year adds to a 6, the Rand is a performer. But we've got to kind of look at this very openly, because our Rand's not attached to any currency, and it can dance around, and you can work your money. If you need to do an exchange thing, would you go via the yen and then into the dollar or whatever it is? So we'll see our Rand. There's a kind of something about restructuring that's going to happen. There could also be a consolidation, so there could be some coins or notes or whatever that are now, not going to be reminted. But something's happening on the Rand front, this word restructure. Our age on the 14th of February, because that's when the Rand was born in 1961, we're going into a 4 personal, and our age will be a 7. But the Rand has got double 7s. So this is the Rand kind of finding its way and dodging the bullets and running itself around the world. But it's like the Rand is going to be in the public eye. So be very interesting. Let's have a look here. There's good fortune attached to the Rand, but it sits in a period of 61 through to 64, very good year, 2025. And so it's interesting. I don't ever think our Rand is going to drop down to 5 Rand to the dollar or anything like that. But we've got to watch all the changes that are taking place with Bitcoin. Countries are starting their own Bitcoin, and the Americans, what are they going to be doing regarding the dollar and losing their power, where a lot of countries that they have shut down any support or financial support, etc., that countries are creating a Bitcoin to be able to buy whatever it is they need from America via, and nobody really knows who's buying. So there's a big currency thing that's going to be happening. And, sometimes the Rand is good for the exporters and sometimes it's good for the importers. And that's just the way the mop flops. Now, if the rand is going to be in the public eye, it's quite interesting that restructuring could mean the IMF can put a lid or restructure us, etc. That would be very interesting. I need to look at the IMF. But let's get to the ANC. So now, this is a did you know that the ANC was not born, it was this on the 8th of January. It was the South African Native National Congress, was born on the 8th of January 1912. It got an acronym later, taking the African National and Congress for short. It was called the ANC. But the ANC was only legalized because the South African Native National Congress was formed in a church in Bloem. And for the ANC to be able to be a part of elections, they had to become an official body and be registered. And they were registered on the 3rd of February 1999. So they are 31 years of age, and in February they'll be turning 32 in 2022. So let's start off with the legal ANC. So the legal ANC has got a 3, a 2, double fives, and a 6 life path. And the African National Congress adds to a 4. So they are going into, now we're in December of 2021. So the energy of what is coming in to the official ANC is an 11-2 personal year. They're born in February, and that 11-2 is the split. This is also resignations, or their contracts will be served and not renewed, legal matters, lots of legal matters. This is also offering severance packages. This is also how unsettled that inside is going to be. And this is a very, very critical year. So critical, because that divide, if Cyril's got to take responsibility, he's got to be very careful of how this divide happens. But it's not good, because their age is going to be a 5, and their day and month adds to a 5, and they've got another hidden 5. So this year, 2022 to February of 2023, is disclosure, discovery, fraud, corruption, but it is big. This 5 means the import and export or foreign of people, product, or currency. So there's a big thing going down here with the ANC legalized on the 3rd of February 1990. And this 11 in its personal could set that wobble, because the National Executive Council or Committee meet in December of 2022. Whoops. Hold that thought. I will get back to whether Cyril will come back in. But let's go now to when the South African Native National Congress was formed on the 8th of January 1912. So the ANC will celebrate the 110th birthday of the founding of the South African Native National Congress. And interesting, it goes into a 6 personal. Now remember that Cyril is in a personal 6 and his age is 69. he's on track with the original South African Native National Congress. So that kind of keeps him into doing what he needs to do, because the ANC needs to refocus, reconnect, take responsibility, be held responsible. But its age adds to an 11. That 110 just stands out. And that is legal matters from outside coming in. This is 11 means on the stage. So even the ANC, when it was legalized, it's in a personal 11. So they've got the same number. So they're on the stage, the world stage. And this is not good, because that 11 on the legalized shows the split. It's also showing that from an outside perspective, whatever legal is happening in the ANC, there's going to be a lot of legal matters outwardly. Oops. So I wonder, who would be taking the ANC to court? Well, they haven't been paying salaries. Cyril was paying them and then he stopped. So I think this could be really interesting. But this energy inside of the ANC is connection, or there is disconnection. This is trying to regain the word family and friends and connections. But then it's also got disconnections, severance, parting of ways. So the ANC is, there's an energy about powers that be that have been longer than 27 years or more, have a tendency to kind of hit a rock bottom or disappear, and have to then reformalize, kind of assess and maybe rename. I don't know, but something, the ANC for me has lost its, I think under Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki, ANC looked to be the right party for the people, but they have never been about the people, because the people would have homes, the people would have electricity, they would have water, that there are still toilets in schools that are non-functional. The disgusting corruption is the demise of the ANC. So we will see when Cyril does the 8th of January 1912 blah-de-blah public speech on turning 110, are we going to hear the same old rhetoric? Yep, because that's in a 6th personal year. Nothing, no news. It's old news. I think that is it for now. So kind of watch 2020 part 1 and start to hear the similar words that I've said, because that's for global. Because for country, you have to look at the country's birth date or when it became a republic. And you'll hear more in there that is still relative to our age, being 60 until May of 2022, but we go into that personal 6, so we're still affected by the global part 1 video. And I'm going to say thanks for watching Sandy's Numerology. And I hope that my energy is going to improve and I can do some more videos for everybody. But wishing everybody a safe, festive New Year. And see you in 2022.